Hello and welcome to another thriller fiction Thursday with me, the author Michael Campling, in which we are reading my police procedural thriller set in 1992, Lawful Duty, the first in the Devonshire crime thrillers. Has a new cover actually. I just released it with a new cover in paperback and ebook. You can get the ebook from my store at authormichaelcampling.com, and that really is the best place to buy the ebook. I will be selling some paperbacks later on there. They will be probably just shipped to the UK initially. We'll see how that goes. Other ones should be available for order. And the second book, The Cutting, which is a bit longer, but even grittier, is available on my store at authormichaelcampling.com, so you can get both there. And I should do a little bundle discount. I'll get around to that soon, so look out for that. But you won't get that bundle or the discount, and you might end up paying slightly higher at things like Amazon, where the second book and Kobo and Apple Books, the second book is on pre-order until June the 2nd, so not long, but still great to buy from an indie author's own personal bookstore if you can. It's a good way to support indie writers who are just sort of trying to scrape a living without the retailers taking a cut. But that's enough of the commercial break. I see we're already over a minute in, so I will put my glasses on and press on with the reading. Chapter 8. I'm trying to remember what everybody talks like. Chapter 8 of Lawful Duty, read by the author Michael Campling. Here we are, Riley said. Dixie's Field. He swerved the Ford into a parking space and they climbed from the car. Spiller paused on the pavement to scan the uniform row of red brick buildings. The ground floor windows were arched, and each wide front door was crowned by an ornate fanlight. Each house had tall sash windows at the upper floors, some of them equipped with a wrought iron balcony, their railings echoed by the fence set in front of the houses. The overall effect was impressive, as though the individual houses made up a single and rather grand mansion. Across the road, an area of grass boasted a row of mature trees, and Spiller caught a glimpse of a church spire at the end of the street. To his eyes, the place looked like something from one of those costume dramas Sheila liked on the telly. Odd name, Spiller said. Dixie's Field. I suppose it was named after some local bigwig. Don't know and don't much care. We're heading down the road. Riley set off along the street. It's not quite so posh where we're going. Spiller fell into step beside Riley and soon saw what he meant. The road became wider, fine old houses giving way to boxy buildings made from dull concrete and aluminium-framed windows. Riley marched up to a retail unit, its windows advertising dozens of houses for sale or rent. Across the front window, a sign read, Barclays Estate Agent. Riley paused before opening the door. I'll take the lead. If I want you to chip in, wait until I give you a nod, okay? No problem, Spiller replied, but... What? Choosing his words carefully, Spiller said, I don't want to get in your way, Paddy, but I hate to hang around like a spare part. I know where you're coming from, Tim, but just because you're not asking the questions, it doesn't mean you're wasting your time. You're learning on the job, and that's always the best way. Besides, two heads are better than one. Listen carefully and you might pick up something I miss. Okay, Paddy, you're the boss. Quite right. Riley led the way inside, and a middle-aged man rose swiftly from his seat, striding around his desk to meet them, his hand extended for a shake. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Malcolm, the senior property consultant here at Berkeley's. Oh, I pronounced it Barclays earlier, didn't I? Sorry. Can have either, but Berkeley's tends to be, I think, more of a US pronunciation. Anyway, sorry. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Malcolm, the senior property consultant here at Barclays. What can I do for you today? If you're looking to buy, I've got a couple of beauties I could show you. Lowering his voice to a stage whisper, he added, They've only just come on the market, so I'm not supposed to show anyone yet, but I can see you have a keen eye. Sorry to disappoint, Riley said, sounding distinctly unapologetic as he showed his ID, but we're here on police business. Malcolm's face fell and a small sigh escaped from his lips. Tony. Riley nodded. What's he done this time? The usual, Riley replied. Parking tickets? Again? Malcolm shook his head. I've told him a dozen times, but he thinks he can park anywhere he pleases. It's up to him to pay the fines. We're not liable, as I'm sure you know, so you'll have to do what you have to do. He smiled sadly. When and if he turns up, that is. Tony not in today? Riley asked. No, he called in sick. A tummy bug, apparently, but a heavy weekend is more like it. Riley tutted. Youngsters, eh? They don't know they're born. Could you scribble down Tony's address for me? Yes, but... Malcolm frowned. If you're dealing with his parking fines, you'll have his details already, won't you? Aren't they all on a computer? Of course, sir, but it'll save time if you help us out, and we'll be grateful for your assistance. Riley fixed the man with an implacable stare. Oh, I suppose it'd be all right. Malcolm went to his desk and wrote on a pad, tearing off a page and walking slowly back to join them. Riley held out his hand, and after a brief show of reluctance, Malcolm presented him with the sheet of paper. Riley glanced at the address, then passed it to Spiller. Thank you, sir. All that remains is to get your surname and phone number and so on. My colleague will take your details. Spiller took his cue, stepping forward smartly as he pocketed the piece of paper and whipped out his notebook. Let's start with your full name, sir. Malcolm Barr. Barr has 2 R's. Spiller wasted no time in obtaining the man's name, address, and phone number, and he recorded every detail diligently. When he was done, he glanced at Riley and received a nod that said, Over to you. Before we go, Spiller began, I have a few more questions for you, Mr. Barr. How's Tony as an employee? Malcolm hesitated. I hope I didn't give you the wrong impression earlier. Tony can be a bit careless, but he's good at his job. He's a natural salesman, and he can turn on the charm when he wants to. Malcolm smiled as if at a private joke, and Spiller sensed a thread he could pull at. Who does he turn on the charm for? The ladies, perhaps? Well, he is good with our female clients. We sometimes joke that I'll handle the husbands and he can handle the wives. And how does Tony handle the wives? Spiller asked. Malcolm's composure slipped. Oh, I didn't mean to imply there's anything inappropriate. It's just that Tony's young and he has a way with the ladies. He gives them a smile and a bit of flattery, that's all. I see. Spiller made a note, mainly to let Malcolm know this was a serious matter. When we arrived, you assumed that Tony had done something wrong, Spiller went on. What was that? No reason. Spiller gazed at the man, his pen poised, waiting. Malcolm's professional demeanour vanished. OK, it's not just the parking. I've had some complaints about Tony. The ladies like him, but he doesn't always know where to draw the line. What kind of complaints? Spiller asked. From husbands, mainly. They think he gets over-familiar with their wives, and they're probably right. What about the female clients? Riley said. Do they complain? Malcolm nodded. A few of them. I've spoken to Tony about it. I've warned him often enough. I've told him someone might talk to the police if he made a nuisance of himself, but he doesn't listen. I must admit, I wondered if that's why you were here. I see, Spiller said. Define making a nuisance. Oh, I didn't mean anything awful. He might lay his hand on a woman's back as they go through the door, for instance, but nothing worse than that. Are you sure about that? Riley asked. What about when he's in the car with the client? Does his hand ever slip onto a woman's knee? No, not as far as I know. No one's ever said anything like that. And what about his absence today? Spiller said. Is Tony really ill, do you think? No, I doubt it. He sounded hungover to me. Malcolm attempted a world-weary smile. Still, we were all young once. We've all thrown a sickie after a night in the pub. Not all of us, Spiller stated. Personally, I don't drink when I've got work the next day. From the corner of his eye, he spotted Riley, staring at him. But Spiller pressed on. But we're not here to talk about my principles, Mr. Bart. We're looking at Tony Carter and the way he carries on. Yes, or they haven't really said what he's supposed to have done. Spiller looked to Riley and received a nod. Mr. Bart, we're looking into the disappearance of a young woman. What? Malcolm paled. You're not suggesting it's something to do with Tony, are you? Not at this stage, Riley said. But there's a connection between the woman in question and Tony Carter, so we need to talk to him. Who's missing? Malcolm said, his voice faint. Not his girlfriend, surely not Lindsay. Do you know Lindsay? Riley asked. Malcolm shook his head. We've never met, but he talks about her all the time. I think they're pretty serious. What gave you that impression? Spiller said. I don't know, the way he talked about her, I suppose. He seemed to go out with her every weekend and sometimes in the week as well. I know Tony thinks the world of Lindsay. If anything's happened to her, he'll be devastated. All the more reason for us to be cautious with the information we release, Riley said. We don't want to cause alarm, so please do not contact Tony until we've had a chance to talk to him ourselves. Don't say anything to anybody. We don't want rumours flying around the place. That would do more harm than good. Malcolm nodded vaguely, but he didn't seem to be taking Riley's words in. So, is it Lindsay you're looking for or not? Riley left a pause before replying. Mr. Barr, I'll spell this out for you. We're looking for a young woman who's been reported as missing, but we're not releasing her name at this stage, and speculation isn't helpful. Think of that young woman's family and what they're going through. Do you have children, Mr. Barr? Yes, a boy and a girl. They're grown up now, but they're still... Malcolm's voice trailed away. Those poor parents, it's your worst nightmare. Exactly, Riley said. So you'll understand why we must keep this between ourselves for the time being. Remember, we might find the young woman at any moment, but we can't afford to sit around and wait. We're talking to everyone who knows us, so we need to meet with Tony Carter right away. Hopefully we'll be able to eliminate him from our inquiries. Is that all clear to you? Yes, perfectly. Good, then we'll be off. Riley caught Spiller's eye and nodded towards the door. To Malcolm, he said, Goodbye for now, we'll be in touch. If you see Tony before we do, give us a call. Riley handed out a business card and they took their leave. Outside, Riley headed back to the car at a brisk pace. We'll go straight to Carter's house, he said. With a bit of luck, we'll catch him while he's still worse for wear. What if he really does have a stomach bug? Spiller asked. Do me a favour. They walked on a few paces, then Riley sent him a sideways glance. Do you really not drink on a work night? Never. You'll have a drink after work tonight, though, eh? We got to christen you, bring you into the fold. Thanks, but I'd better get home after work. Sheila's making a Lancashire hot pot. Actually, I think I went into Mr. Barr's voice there, didn't I? Thanks, but I'd better get home after work. Sheila's making a Lancashire hot pot. It'll keep. That's the whole point of a hot pot. It might come from the wrong side of the Pennines, but you can't go wrong with a hot pot. The longer you leave it, the better it'll be. Oh, I don't think Sheila would see it like that. Get on with you, Riley said. She married a copper. She must have nerves of steel. She'll understand you having a pint after your first day. Besides, it'd be good for you. You'll get to meet everyone, and that always helps. Shake a few hands. Let them see what you're made of. Make the right friends now, and it'll help you down the line. Is that what you did? Me? Nay, lad. I'm not made for glad-handing folk. I speak as I find, and they don't always like that down here. I dare say they think I'm a brash northerner, but that can't be helped. I had my card marked a long time ago. I've been a DS for a long while now, and that's the way it'll stay until I get my pension. Well, you never know, Spiller said. The governor seems to think highly of you. He put you in charge of the new boy, so he must trust you. Chisholm is one of the good guys. We get on fine, him and me, but he's not the only senior officer in CID. Riley's tone had grown more sombre as he'd spoken, and Spiller took this as a signal to ask no more questions. Still, he couldn't help but wonder about Riley. He seemed like a good copper, and it sounded as though he wasn't without ambition. So what was holding him back? Was it as simple as he said? Had he rubbed too many people up the wrong way? If so, who had Riley fallen out with and why? I'm overthinking it, Spiller told himself. It's nothing to do with me. Riley interrupted his thoughts by asking for Tony Carter's address. 37 West Grove Road, Spiller said, without breaking stride, and without retrieving the note Malcolm had given them. Riley smiled. Good lad. We call that patch St. Leonard's. On account of the church? That's right. Do you attend, if that's the right word? Spiller shook his head. Sheila's more that way inclined than me. I don't really go in for all that, but I've been trying to find my way around, and they're useful landmarks, churches. There was one at the end of Dixie's Field. What's that called? Southern A Church, United Reform. I take it you don't go? Riley seemed to find this amusing. The job's my religion. Pick one and stick to it, that's what I say. Spiller thought for a second. What about DCS Boyce? I'll bet he goes to church. Oh, I wish I could tell you that you're wrong, lad, but you're spot on. Every Sunday he's there with his good lady wife. Mind you, if we need him on the job, he'll be at his desk before any of us. First to arrive, last to go home. That's his motto, come hell or high water. Well, that's good, Spiller said. Sounds like he's got his finger on the pulse. Riley looked as though he was going to say something, but they'd arrived back at the car. Jump in. The sooner we get to Carter's gaff, the better. 5 minutes later, they were marching up to the front door of 37 West Grove Road. The terraced houses were compact and neat, two-storey buildings with a single bay window on each floor. Most of the small front yards had been laid to flagstones or concrete, but some residents had added potted plants to brighten them up. While Riley rang the doorbell of number 37, Spiller stood back on the pavement to check the upstairs window. The curtains had been opened, and as Spiller watched, a face briefly appeared at the window's edge before ducking back out of sight. He's in, Spiller said. At least someone is. I might have to send you around to cover the back, Riley replied. I'd take the motor, but you can't drive down the back of this street. It's on foot or nothing. Riley cocked his ear. Hang on, I can hear someone coming down the stairs. They waited in silence, but not for long. Bugger it, Riley muttered. He must have slipped out the back. How's you running? Not bad. Which way shall I go? Riley pointed to the end of the street. Go that way and turn left, then left again, down the backs of the houses. I'll get the car and head him off, all right? Spiller nodded and broke into a run, unbuttoning his jacket as he went. He seemed to be racing along, his arms pumping and his feet flying, but he was already sweating, his heart beating hard against his ribs. Maybe he'd let his fitness slip more than he'd realised. An engine roared, and he glimpsed Riley's Ford as it shot past, its tyres squealing as the car swerved to a halt at the end of the road. The road was a dead end as far as cars. The road was a dead end as far as cars were concerned. The only way to continue was a narrow alleyway that ran at right angles to the road. But Riley knew what he was doing. He performed a rapid three-point turn, then the Ford sped back the way it had come. Spiller ran on, making for the alley's mouth and turning left. He spied the opening of the path behind the houses, but before he could reach it, a man emerged, running hard. The man was younger than Spiller, taller and more athletic too, and there was nothing wrong with his reactions. He saw Spiller and headed in the opposite direction, putting on a burst of speed. He was getting away. Spiller urged his legs to move faster, but the younger man had already reached the end of the alley, turning right and disappearing from view. Oh, no, you don't, Spiller thought, and from somewhere he found an extra gear. Sweating profusely, thighs burning, Spiller haired to the alley's end and found himself on the pavement of a long, straight road. The man was some distance away and running hard. Spiller gave chase, gasping for air as he ran, his throat parched and his tongue dry. He did his level best to maintain the pace he'd set, but still the younger man was putting more distance between them. Stop! Spiller called out. Police! If anything, the young man increased his speed. Where the hell was Riley? As if in answer to his call, the Ford Escort streaked past, Riley gunning the engine. In a second, it overtook the young man, then pulled across in front of him, mounting the curb at an angle and screeching to a halt, the driver's door flying open. Riley jumped out of the car, and the young man swerved to avoid him. Riley might have been a few good years younger. Oh, I completely. Damn it. Riley might have been a good few years older than his opponent, but he was ready. He seemed to know exactly what the young man was going to do, and he intercepted him without hesitation, grabbing him by the arm and spinning him around, making his opponent the victim of his own momentum. The young man collided with the side of Riley's car, and before he could react, Riley pulled the man's arms behind his back and wasn't about to let go. Spiller caught up with him just as Riley was applying a pair of handcuffs. Riley sent him a quizzical look. "You all right, lad?" Spiller made do with a nod. He was too busy breathing deep to talk. "Okay." Turning his attention to the young man, Riley added, "You are Tony Carter, yes?" "I'm not saying anything," the man snapped. "I want a solicitor." "We all want something," Riley replied. "It wouldn't hurt you to say please." "Are you having a laugh?" "Not yet, no. Maybe later, when you get sent down for 20 years or so. That might make me crack a smile. What am I supposed to have done?" "We'll get into that at the station," Riley replied. "DC Spiller, could you take care of the driver's seat, please? We need to make room for our special guest." "My pleasure." Spiller released the catch and tipped the seat forward, then he stood back to give Riley some room. "I'd say mind your head as you get in," Riley said while he manhandled his captive into the back seat. "But it's a soft top, so you'll be all right. Although you've been in the wars already, haven't you, son?" With the man safely installed, Riley pushed his seat back into place. To Spiller, he said, "Make sure you've seen that shiner he's got. It takes a while for a black eye to come up like that, and we don't want him saying I did it." Spiller leaned in to see. "Oh, yes, that's a nice black eye you have, sir. Been in a fight?" The man scowled, turning his head away. "No conversation, some people," Riley said. "Right, back to the nick, and we'll see what Mr. Carter has to say for himself. Presuming this is Mr. Carter, of course." "Ready when you are," Spiller replied, and as he climbed into the passenger seat, he smiled. Now this was his idea of police work. Made it to the end of the chapter. Sorry about the many gaffes I made during that, but we got through it. It's a shame to make a mistake on a high, fast-paced bit of sort of high action, but there we go. I do my best. I know I should probably read it for an e-reader or something, but it's just nice reading from a paperback, isn't it? I like it. It's a different feel, different experience. Okay, so if you want to read along or read ahead, you can look for Lawful Duty on my store at authormichaelcampling.com, and you can find it on other stores as an ebook. And you can find the paperback currently it should be on the big old retailer of Amazon, and it has a different cover completely. It's sort of there's a woman in a red dress on the front, but the title is the same. So, and as I say, the second book is out, so which is even grittier, even darker, sort of a bit more action going on, a bit more good old cop thriller action if you're into that. And yeah, you'll notice some of the attitudes and so on are different to our modern sensibilities. So yeah, Riley's obviously a bit of a character, and he a bit of a maverick cop. And you'll also notice some of the attitudes of, the sort of sexism creeping in, and that, because in the 90s, Me Too movement hadn't happened. And yeah, so Tony Carter, a suspicious looking character, Lindsay's boyfriend, got a black eye, didn't turn up to work, ran from the police. What a bad egg. So let's see if he's guilty or not next time, next Thursday. We'll get to the next chapter and we'll be moving on. So thank you so much for listening. Subscribing is great wherever you're listening or watching. If you get the audio and the podcast version, you'll find the sound has been slightly improved. So if you're just on like YouTube or something, you might want to look at the podcast, which is also on YouTube, because I managed to do some filtering on it to sort of get noises, background noises and things off it. What else can I say? Can't remember. Good place to find everything, all my readings, because there are 4 a week, is at authormichaelcampling.substack.com. And if you subscribe on there, you only get 1 email a week via my Substack, and that is kind of a new little bit of writing, like a little bit of personal stuff and some nice photos. I always share some extra stuff. And then there's links to all the readings and any other interesting bits that have happened during the week. So it's quite a fun thing to do. And I post like occasionally humorous little notes and things on there and announcements and stuff. So it'd be lovely to have you over there. Otherwise, if you go to michaelcampling.com/free books, and that's free books is all one word, you can sign up for my author newsletter, which is only monthly now. And you will, of course, get some free books. There isn't a freebie associated with the Devonshire crime thrillers yet. I haven't got one. There's a free mystery for my mysteries, and there's some free science fiction. There's a free Darkening Stone prequel. There's some other short fiction. There's a couple of audio stories. So there's loads of stuff there that you get when you sign up, and you get a monthly newsletter. But there isn't yet a free little freebie to tie in with this, and that's because the second book is just coming out, and I'm already putting some thought into it, and I might see what I can do. See if there's a little short story or something that could drum up for you. All right, well, happy reading. Look after yourselves. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.